Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I hope you are in good health and enjoying your life with your loved ones. This is my first video on this channel, and today I'm going to talk about the Qadiani sect and its prophet and his sons and the books written by him. Now, in this video, we are going to talk about the claims made by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad about being prophet. Not only being prophet, but also being a god. Now, particularly speaking about being God, he wrote a lot of things in his books called Ruhani Khazain, that he's a god. Also, there's a very twisted kind of concept of God and creation in Qadiani sect. And I'll show you a few references in a little bit about the claims made by Mirza Ghulam Ahmad about being God and the concept of God in the Qadiani sect. Now, for a long time, Muslims as a whole, without any disagreement or difference of opinion, believed that Prophet ﷺ is the last prophet and there is no prophet after him, as a lot of hadiths also tell us that Prophet ﷺ clearly and unequivocally said that Ana khatamun nabiyyin la nabiyya ba'di, I am the last of the prophets, I am the seal of the prophets, and there is no prophet after me. But this guy came and changed the whole idea of prophethood. Now, this guy was born in Qadian, India, and claimed to be a prophet. And today we see another sect who believes him to be the prophet of God after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, not only he made a lot of claims about prophethood, but he also made a lot of claims about being God. Now, let me show you a few proofs from his books where he claimed to be a God and gave a new concept of God to the world. A very twisted one, I guess, and extremely difficult to understand and delve into, and against the basic teachings of our deen. Now, let's move on to the references. Now, here in this folder, as you can see that I've got some screenshots to show you. Now, let's analyze each one of them. Now, the first one that I would like to show you is a book written by one of his followers. Now, the name of the book is Zikr Habib. Now, this is in Urdu, but let me translate it for you. Now, in this book, in this specific text, he says that Kalu and Kala are the Arabic words. It means the one who sees. These are the names of the God. Now, if someone is a Muslim and he hears these words Kalu and Kala, he would be shocked to hear that someone attributing these words to God. But here Mirza Ghulam Ahmad very shamelessly calls God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with these derogatory and racist words. Now, let's move on to another reference. Now, in this book, Tuhfa Gulurbiya, Ruhani Khazain, volume number 17, he says, in this, while writing this, God told me and God told me and said that Yalash is the name of the God. This is a word that is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or God. Now, someone hearing this word Yalash will instantly know that God can never use this word for himself. He says that while writing it, God told me that the name of the God is Yalash, that his name, God's name, is Yalash. Now, it's a new word that's been revealed to me. Now, when we analyze this claim in the light of Quran and Sunnah, we can clearly see that this word has never been used for God. But this guy is using these random words, meaningless words for God, in his so-called revelation. Now let's move on to the next one. Now let's move on to another reference which I would like to show you guys to show how meaningless his so-called revelations were. Now in this book called Haqiqatul Wahi and Ruhani Khazain volume number 22, now you can clearly see how meaningless the text is. Now I would like to focus specifically on this so-called verse that is written in Arabic and translated in Urdu. Now I'm not an Arabic speaker, so I will just translate the Urdu one. Now in Urdu translation of this verse, he says, "I will come with the armies surprisingly. Sometimes I shall do as I desire, and sometimes I shall not." Now explaining this verse down here on the same page, he says, the apparent meaning of this revelation means that I will make mistakes. Now that here there's a big problem for us. Now here in this so-called explanation there's a problem, and the problem is that a prophet or a god cannot make a mistake. But he himself says that I will make a mistake. Sometimes I shall do according to my desires, and sometimes I shall not. These words are often used in the revelation of God. Now, as you can see, that is an extremely problematic verse. First of all, there are a lot of meanings that can be extracted from these verses, and the second biggest problem is that it does not have any context to it, and a very confused and twisted idea of God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our case. Let's move on to the next one. Now moving on to the next reference. He wrote a book called Tajalliyat-e-Ilahiyya, Ruhani Khazain, volume number 20. Now in this text, he says, rather claims about God, that the God says in one of the revelations that I will come like thieves. Now, who on this earth can claim that God is a thief? Now, clearly, it is extremely blasphemous towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say that He comes like thieves. He comes like thieves. Now, let me show you another one where he claims to be a god. He wrote a book called Khutbah Ilhamiyya. It is Ruhani Khazain, volume number 16. Now at the end of this page, he says in Arabic and then translates it in Urdu, and I was given the ability of giving life and taking it, and this ability was given to me from the God. Now how blasphemous it is. We see that it is not befitting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the ability of giving and taking life to any human being, even if he is a prophet. Now you can see that how blasphemous and problematic these so-called revelations or verses are. In another book written by him, Aina Kamalat Islam, Ruhani Khazain volume number 5, he writes a very problematic Arabic verse. Now I'm going to translate it for you in English. He says, I saw myself as God, and I believe that I am God. Now, a Muslim, if he listens to it, would know that how childish and stupid the statement is. But you know, that's what false prophets do. Now, in this whole revelation that he claims to receive from God, if you read further, you are going to find a lot of problematic verses written in this page, in this revelation. Now, in this book, Aina Kamalat Islam, Ruhani Khazain, volume number 5, he says, in the highlighted part of the verse, he says, "Then I found myself in a situation where I did not know what I was before, because God was inside me." Now, if you go down on the same page, he says something else. Now, if you will focus here on this highlighted part of the verse, he says, "When I became God, I said, let's make new heavens and the earth. Then I created human beings with clay." Trying to copy the Quran, right? Well, that's what false prophets do. Brothers and sisters, as you saw that Mirza Ghulam Qadiani wrote these so-called revelations in his book called Ruhani Khazain, and you can clearly see that how problematic and how disturbing his ideas of being God are. In some verses, as you saw, he clearly claims to be a God, or claims that some of the attributes of the God. Now that's all for today, but to top it off, let me stick in another one, the final one. Yeah. Now, Mirza Ghulam Qadiani, in his book Ruhani Khazain, volume number 22, a book named Al-Khatimatul Istiftah, it is an Arabic book. If we come down here on this page, on the highlighted part of the revelation, brothers and sisters, you can clearly see on this highlighted part where he says, "I was told through the revelation that whenever you decide to do something, just say kun and that will be done." Now, even a layman Muslim can easily tell that this attribution is of God, that whenever he decides to do something, he just says kun and that thing happens. Now, claiming that for himself is claiming a part or an attribute of God, and simply put, it is a direct claim to be a God. So as you can see, this is another one of the claims of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani, the head of the Qadiani sect, the prophet of the Qadiani sect, where he claimed to be a God. That's all for now. That's all for today. Brothers and sisters, remember me in your prayers, and I will meet you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.